This is Breaking Down Security, a special interview with Cybrary.it. Welcome, dear viewer. Mr. Betcher is at work because I did this interview during the workday, taking time out of my busy schedule to give you some education on new avenues for IT education. And one that I've been following for a while now has been one called Cybrary.it, and it's a organization, it's a website that did a very successful Kickstarter? No, it was a Kickstarter.
Yep.
Yeah, that full disclosure, I did fund them at a pretty decent level, so they are we're going to have a long and fruitful relationship together. But I wanted to find out a little bit more about them, and since many of you listeners probably have not heard of them, I wanted to get them on and talk about Cybrary.it and what does it do and what they do. So welcome Ryan and Anthony to the show.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Yeah. So maybe you guys could introduce yourselves and how you got to this point in your careers where you're wanting to help educate people.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I'm Ryan. I'm one of the two co-founders of Cybrary. The other is Ralph Sita. He's out and about right now. But yeah, I'm kind of the I guess the management behind the organization, and I brought the idea to the table. And then we have Anthony.
I'm Anthony. I am one of the subject matter experts on Cybrary, and I also help with some of the internet services that we do. I sort of got my start the same way many people do in IT. I took a couple classes here and there and took out a couple loans in order to make sure that I could get them paid for. And after a couple of years working IT and working at a training company and seeing how much of a struggle it is for some people to pay for just basic classes, I thought I'd team up with Ryan and help deliver some of these classes to help people get their foot in the door.
And this is important to say that Anthony, just like you mentioned, he has taught classes for Cybrary, has figured out several technical issues for Cybrary, is working very deeply on our product and our platform, has done editing, has done filming, so pretty much does everything around here. I think that's like a lot of us. Yeah, we kind of wear a bunch of hats.
All right. Cool. So what was the inspiration for Cybrary? This is not a like a second job for you guys. This is the primary thing that you're doing for, this is your job basically, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we've been in the IT training industry and IT and cybersecurity training industry. I've been in it for 13 years, and the co-founder has been in it for a couple of years longer than that. And we watched the industry evolve. I think, Brian, you probably remember the days where training was generally bundled in packages where if you wanted to start out your career in the field, it'd be A+, Net+, Security Plus, MCSA, right? Or MCSE was a big one, and CCNA, and you'd buy that for something around $20,000 a pop, and you'd be there for 6 months, and you'd walk away with these certifications. And then the industry evolved. I guess that was like late 90s or so. The industry evolved into kind of singular classes that is kind of where it is now, and those classes typically range from as cheap as $1,000 up to generally around $5,000 if you want to talk about a advanced cybersecurity course.
Sure.
And then of course with the evolution of online learning and how quickly that has evolved and grabbed a bunch of market share in IT and cybersecurity training, people have really bought into that, and it's been proven here now to be very effective for people in helping to prepare in skill sets and certifications. So we kind of saw all that. We watched the evolution very closely, and we realized that the development of MOOC platforms, massive open online course platforms, which are these free online course delivery companies like Coursera, Code Academy, Khan Academy. With those kind of evolving and becoming what they were, we realized that there was a pretty good opportunity here. I personally felt very strongly attached to those MOOC providers. I'm a big autodidactic type person. I like to learn and do so just by absorbing as many podcasts and YouTube videos as I possibly can. And so we kind of wanted to put something together like that that would provide people an opportunity to learn IT and cybersecurity for free. This industry, I think, is severely held back by the fact that classes are so expensive, and especially like I said, a cybersecurity class, it's going to cost you around $3 to $5 grand. And, these classes change so continually; they change so often. You take a malware analysis class now, it's going to look very different in 2 years from now. I mean, the skill set's going to change almost entirely once over or twice over in that time frame. So that's why we put this thing together. We wanted to kind of remove the barriers of entry into the field, and provide even people who wouldn't have the opportunity to start in the first place. We wanted to give that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've used SecurityTube. I use Hacker Academy through my company. I also have done the YouTube thing. I've gone to Adrian Crenshaw Iron Geek's site. What makes you different than them? What would make somebody go, I want to choose Cybrary over SecurityTube or Hacker Academy, or other than the price? I mean, that is very good. I appreciate the free training, but can they get just as high quality training for free, because it's obviously the old adage is you get what you pay for, than say somebody who is a pay service like a SecurityTube or Hacker Academy?
Right. So being in the industry as long as we have, we definitely knew what it took to get people from A to B, or from start to finish in terms of these classes. So we know how to build new classes, and we know how to run the existing mainstream classes. So for us, for one, you'll notice there are a lot of certification-based courses on the website. That's probably the bulk as of right now. So what we did was we took the classroom experience that we've been running for me personally for the last 13 years, and we turned that into an online class. But in doing so, we also modeled it after some of those paid services out there, those paid training companies out there. I don't want to mention any names, but we looked at their products, we used their products first, and then we kind of mirrored ours after that, and then mixed in a couple of other elements that we felt were important for the learning process. And then when it comes to the cybersecurity courses, I think that they are very similar to some of the other higher-end online cybersecurity classes that are out there. We had some very good professionals come in who have done classes in other places for years and years. I think the first one that comes to mind is Georgia Weidman. She has sort of our flagship class on there, the Advanced Penetration Testing course. She's been training for a long time and is very familiar with audiences and so on. And so in cases like that, we say, okay, here's our general mold of how we want our delivery of our class to look. Georgia, now go ahead and put a class together for that. And it's not just Georgia; it's all of them. They do a pretty good job with it. So we do have a framework. We follow the framework, but we do put creative control in the hands of the experts too.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of wanted to bring me to my next question. So you lined up Georgia, who's been on our podcast before. She talked about her book that she'd had out, and she's author of the Smartphone Penetration Framework. So who are some of the other people you've lined up for content? Anybody can create content. So what's the vetting process, and who decides what kind of training will go on the site? Is it is it updated on a regular basis? Like you mentioned, you said malware training could be out of date in 6 months. So how is the process for updating curriculum as it goes along?
Well, we need to try to get our, and this is part of the Kickstarter campaign, we need to try to get our user base and then revenue model up a little bit. So that'll stabilize our ability to be able to update very regularly. But that was definitely in the plans from day one, to update as frequently as needed to keep the class fresh. And so I think a lot of times it's going to just involve some simple editing and so on. Cut out this piece and add this in, and that shouldn't be too trying. But so we'll be able to do that. But basically the way that it works, like I said, we develop a framework so we know how we want a class delivered, and we put it in the hands of the experts. We're here in the Washington, D.C. area, and we have a very big network of cybersecurity trainers and practitioners as well that are close friends of ours. And so generally what we do is we'll develop the sort of an outline for a course. We'll have a handful of experts look it over for a peer review process, So then we kind of fine tune what we really want and make sure that we're doing something that's definitely on point and is going to be useful to a wide variety of people, and it's not just too niche where it's good for a small subset of cybersecurity professionals. And so it gets, our classwork and the outlines and everything go through a peer review process that involves a bunch of our friends. And I guess just the best way to put it, they're our friends, and they also train for us and so on. So
Okay.
that's pretty much how that works.
Okay, so let's say I come to you and I'm like, hey, I got this great idea. I've got this, Ruby curriculum I want to set up. Is that something that would you take that kind of input from outside organizations, or is there some kind of sign up, or do I have to have some kind of reputation in the InfoSec community already to be able to contribute to Cybrary?
No, you just need to know what you're talking about. So if you come to us with a good idea, you may have seen it on the website, but we're very, very much looking for those types of suggestions. So we have a very open feedback loop model on our website that just basically encourages everybody to send any idea they ever have to us, because that's how we always operated. In the past 13 years, in doing what we were doing, we were kind of always out in front of putting the new next hot class together. And that's the only way you do it, is you just keep your ear to the ground and listen to what the professionals are telling you. We can't jump into every class suggestion that we get because we're limited on money, and we're limited on resources and other ways. But what we'll do is we'll take every suggestion and we'll listen to it very thoroughly, and we will then vet it generally through a process that involves speaking to the users on the website. So we'll take a clump of like 100, 200 students or members on Cybrary, and we will send out a questionnaire occasionally, and the feedback that we get from that questionnaire basically determines which classes will go to production and which ones won't. But right now we're still working on core set that we knew we needed to get delivered prior to moving into other categories. Malware analysis, intro to malware analysis is in production right now. Python for security professionals is core to what we believe makes a well-rounded, CyberSec Pro. So those are being worked on right now, and we are taking suggestions. Oh, Metasploit is another one that's being worked on. Georgia is working on that one. So once we get, we've gotten a ton of suggestions so far, right, Anthony? I mean, we get them every day, multiple every day. But that's good. It's what we want. It's what we're looking for.
Okay. So when I do videos, I find myself I binge watch a bunch of videos, and then I find myself with questions that I, either have to go and find the answers myself, or, I'm lost trying to, I have to buy a book to help, supplement those things. Is there, one of the things that I've missed on other ones that I've tried is that sense of community. How are you trying to help engage that facet of training? Because I find I do better in a classroom environment, but when I do it at my home, I don't have the classroom, even if it's a number of people in a go-to meeting or something. How are you trying to help with the pseudo classroom environment for people who are home learners like myself?
Anthony spends more time working on this than I do, so I'm going to default to him on this one.
Sure. So a large part of what we're trying to do to develop that sense of community is to, number one, grow the user base and get more people interested and knowledgeable about Cybrary, and also develop a stronger forum structure, a stronger community of people that are willing to talk with others who may be more new in the industry or maybe having problems with a question or two here and there, so that users feel more comfortable reaching out on the forums, reaching out in the comments in order to look for those types of answers. We make an effort to respond to every single support ticket that we see. We make an effort to respond to every single email that we get, and we have one of our other administrators trolling around on the site looking for any questions that any users may have about different questions in the courses that they may encounter, to sort of help facilitate, at this point where we're at, to sort of help facilitate some of that user interaction by letting all the other users know, hey, there's a question here on the CCNA course, or there's a question here on the advanced penetration testing course. Would you guys, we'll offer a little bit of a bounty, a couple points here or there if you can help answer this question to help facilitate sort of a community discussion board. This, we hope, will lead to eventual maybe conferences between people that are trying to learn, almost little cross-global study groups where people can feel more comfortable talking to each other online rather than just going and watching a video and then jumping off and, like you said, having to search for answers elsewhere.
We knew that this was critical to the learning process when we first started. It was like one of our primary goals was to make sure that we facilitated that sense of community and that engagement amongst the members, because both Anthony and myself are products of online education. We both had that in our background. So we've been through the classes where they put together a small group of people, and then there's a facilitator above that group of people, and they kind of make sure that everybody's engaging on these class discussions and so on. So we wanted to do that, but on a global scale. So now you'll see people from all across the world talking about a topic, I mean, from PC repair up to, I don't know, anything as advanced as it gets. And so it's running itself. I think we're there to make sure that it flows continually. And so if something gets snagged in the process, we have multiple sets of eyeballs on it to make sure it at least gets some sort of kickstart forward to be discussed and collaborated for an answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned CCNA. Now that's something that when I about 15, oh God, it's been 15 years ago. Yeah, nearly 15 years ago when I was trying to get my CCNA, my career path diverged from that point. I had to have a couple of 2500 series Cisco routers, little piddly routers. How are you guys doing the same thing for somebody with an online course? Do you have are you using like Vieta for router, like the free Vieta servers VMs, or how are you simulating a lab environment for somebody who's doing something online?
With the CCNA course in particular, our instructor Janae, he liked to use the packet tracer application. We do understand that not all of the students will have access to the packet tracer application, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're growing and as we're gaining more resources, we're looking for other ways to help open up certain labs for people, open up certain avenues where if they don't have racks of servers and racks of routers and switches at their home, they can utilize those labs. For a sort of a temporary stopgap solution, we've partnered with a couple training online lab companies to help bring their labs at lower rates than market price. A little bit lower rate than buying a couple of routers and switches, but we're always looking for ways that we can expand that and make our content more interactive and more lab environment than just watching videos.
If there's a way that we can get to facilitate a lab environment for free for our students, I think we will. We're nowhere close to that right yet, but so right now that's why we resell. We just are an intermediary for this one prominent virtual lab environment company.
Okay. All right. So you just had a very successful Kickstarter that got funded. So we mentioned it a little bit earlier about where the money is going from that Kickstarter. Maybe you could go a little bit more into what it's going for. Are you looking at investing in AWS or additional servers for infrastructure? Or is it to pay for new content, new curriculum, and also since this is going to be free training, how do you plan on sustaining this business model? Are you going to be doing additional fundraising, additional Kickstarters, corporate sponsors? Are you going to be putting ads in? I mean, how do you plan on sustaining the current business model that you're looking at right now?
I'm surprised it took you this long to get there, Brian.
I don't like talking about money because it's so impersonal, but somebody's going to be asking, well, how are you going to keep paying for free?
Right. Yeah, it's usually everybody's number one question. So yeah, the Kickstarter campaign was very highly appreciated. What we found out from that was that there are people out there that care about this initiative as much as we do. And I think that the fact that we're going to be providing this type of training for free forever is going to change the industry, and it's going to change a lot of people's lives. And I think people got behind that. So what we're going to do with that, the first thing is we want to make a mobile application. So we're looking at creating, or we've already started the process of creating an Android application. And so some of the other money from that will go towards new content development. There's still core stuff that we have to pay for and get done. But the mobile application is the primary objective with that money, and then we just want to grow our user base too, because we need to get to sort of a critical mass where we can float along and be a sustainable website. For the mobile application, first of all, I want to address that, and then I'll talk about revenue model and such. The reason for the mobile application and why it's so important is because we have users tell us every single day, many users, hundreds or thousands of users, talk about how their internet connection is so spotty or so poor, or they're only connected at certain times throughout the day. Well, in order to make sure that this thing reaches people in a relatively equal manner, we need a mobile application that kind of brings the videos down, and allows them to set on the mobile device, and then be consumed or watched, and then sort of delete, after they're done. And so that's what we're going to. It's going to help a lot of people in kind of developing nations be able to learn from our content. So that's why there's a priority with the mobile application. So our revenue model and how we plan on sustaining, for sure we have ads, and that's the biggest source of revenue for us so far, and I think that will be going forward for the most part. But we also have things on the website that you can purchase. Certificates of completion is one of them. Badges to show your support for the courses. It's kind of a donation model there. And then we resell CompTIA certification exam vouchers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a little bit of revenue coming in from that. But one thing that we looked at now and we realize has a lot of potential after getting contacted by certain companies is getting the big organizations to basically support the platform. So we created an enterprise training management platform that basically allows an organization to set things like employee profiles with learning objectives, and then they can print reports to see how the employees are doing along those learning paths. So if somebody comes up for their annual review, and they were told at the beginning of the year by their manager to complete, these 3 training courses, the manager could then pull a report and sit down for their employee review. And so we've had a lot of organizations tell us that would be great for retention because it's providing, these kind of career development pathways, which they use to help retain and grow their talent pools. So that's something that we're working on right now. Anthony's pretty heavily involved in the platform. There's kind of a bare bones model for it ready at the moment, but it'll continue to be matured. Anything to add? Did I miss anything there?
Yeah, pretty much hit everything there.
So that's it.
Okay. So I noticed, yeah, you have different platform levels. You have standard, premium, and enterprise. Now you say up to 500 users. Is that like if you have a company of 450 users, you're good, and then so unlimited users. So like for the big companies, like the Fortune 100s and such, that you could for $5,000 basically have unlimited access to all of your training regardless.
Right, and there are some classes that we're adding in there that are kind of enterprise specific, things like FISMA training, right, or SOX training, HIPAA, those kind of things as they relate to cybersecurity. So those will be added there. End user security awareness training you see is there. That's part of it. So some of those things, are going to be enterprise specific. They don't apply to an individual user, who's just learning cybersecurity on their own so much. And so that'll help to enhance that package for us. You may also see on the site there that we are donating our platform to certain nonprofits. We got a couple of partnerships that are coming out in the next few days that I think are going to be we're going to do a lot of good for things like veterans in the United States and so on. We're going to be donating this platform. So that I can't talk about that yet, I guess. But I just wanted to mention that our platform
understand.
Really reach a lot of people,
Okay. So you mentioned the security awareness training. That's good because I was like, where's the security awareness training? That would be like a gold mine for you folks, but you're putting it inside the enterprise training because it seems like. So so let's say I was a company and I wanted to do your standard platform. What kind of security awareness training are we looking at? Is it the same stuff that we would get any time of the year? Or, do you have actors come in and like try to make it funny? a lot of times you've got people who are just sitting there for 3 hours and they don't want to be there. How do you make training exciting for somebody, who's having to go to your site and having to learn those kinds of things?
And that's actually a big part of what we're working on right now in order, like you said, to make it something that you aren't sitting at your computer at work for 3 hours learning about what's a spam message and what's not a spam message, and then clicking through it and hitting, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
So we're trying to develop things that are a little bit more, like you said, actory, maybe have some demonstrations of, oh, I spilled coffee on my resume. Can you help me print this out? And it's like, no, you don't do this. Rather than just me standing in front of a whiteboard for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We're looking to make sure that we have modules broken down in a relatively small time frame between 5 and 10 minutes, because when it's something mandatory, most people don't want to sit there for longer than 5 to 10 minutes to watch this.
Sure.
Break it down into 5 to 10 minute segments. Started off with maybe me giving a few words, and then actually moved into something a little bit more almost like animated infographics, because infographics seem to catch people's attention quite a bit more than standing in front of whiteboards do, and then followed up with a little bit of technical reasoning behind why we're telling you to do this. We're not telling you to set a hard password because we're being mean and because we want you to forget your password every 2 weeks so that we can keep our help desk people employed. But we are asking you to set a hard password because there are things that exist, such as these brute force crackers and rainbow tables, that make it very, very easy for the bad guys to come into our networks and break your password. It's easy. But staying away more from the technical sides that a lot of end-user security trainings seem to go into too much, and really just demonstrating for users practical applications of what's bad security practice, and then maybe even showing them a couple of examples that are a little bit over the top, but in a way to get their attention so that they'll remember it, and it's something that they'll keep in mind later when things come up, when security threats come up.
Okay. All right. So somebody with a certification like myself, I have a CISP, so I have to have my CPEs. How do we go about getting proof? Let's say I submit my CPEs to ISC Squared, and they say, well, we want proof. Do you get a certificate of completion for an hour's worth, or do you have to go through the entire, say, Metasploit course to get that certificate of completion?
So we are developing different ways to help track how long users are spending on videos and how long they're spending on courses, so that the certificates of completion can more accurately reflect the amount of hours that they're spending on the course.
Mm-hmm.
That way that they're more recognized by industries for CPEs, continuing education units, and so on. Right now, our mechanisms are just clicking I got this buttons, watching videos, and then actually going through almost all of the I got this buttons. But we have developers working on different tracking codes, different tracking cookies that will actually allow us to monitor time spent per page, similar to how Khan Academy does their credits, time spent watching a certain video, to help better reflect on certificates the exact amount of time someone actually spent in our classroom model.
So long and short, right now you have to complete a class,
right?
The whole thing, yeah, to get it. Yeah.
So for instance, if I wanted to do the Metasploit class, how many hours of videos is that? Are we talking 20, 30 hours here? Or will I be able to do it in a day?
Yeah, you'll be able to do that one in a day. That's going to be a little bit of a shorter course, probably in the 10-hour range.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good too.
It would be a long day, but it won't be a 40-hour class or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, wow. Okay, we are at 35 minutes. Well, actually, we're not at 35 minutes. We're getting close. So, what is the future look like for Cybrary? I mean, where are you guys looking? Are you looking towards your own certificates, like how Offensive Security does OSCP and their stuff? Are you looking for expanding? Obviously, you're looking to expand the types of catalogs training that you give, but I mean, I was just trying to figure out what the future of Cybrary is going towards.
Okay, so short-term future, we know that we need to get a few enterprise organizations on our platform to really bolster us down and make us totally sustainable. So that's short-term future. But really in the long term, Brian, I kind of see this, had this vision of it um, from the start, where we have this great library of classes there online, but I'd like to see a day in the future where we go in and we rent out these huge auditoriums, and we'll teach a class in person for free, um, on the different topics that we have on our website. I'd like to see going to different cities and putting these things together, and making it a free in-person model. We have a long way to go between now and then, but I think that's where we're trying to. We want this whole industry to go in that direction. We want everything to be free when it comes to learning. I want everything to be free when it comes to education. Period. I think we'll get there one day. But yeah, that's kind of how I see the long term. But the short term is definitely focus on some of these core things so we can be a sustainable organization.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So I guess in closing, where other than Cybrary.it, because it's Cybrary.it.
Yeah.
And other than that, the website, how would somebody get a hold of your organization if they wanted to submit training, possibly new curriculum, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So our number one thing that we throw everywhere, and again, we want everyone to talk to us as much as they want. So if there's any idea out there, please send it our way. It's going to come in to support@cybrary.it. Again, support@cybrary.it. And there's a profile on our website of the support sort of character, and there's a form there too. So if you don't want to send an email, you can just do it on our submit form. But yeah, that's it's key to us. We want to hear from everybody for sure.
Okay. All right. Are any of you going to be coming and visiting any of the security conventions that are going to be happening? I mean, DEF CON, Black Hat, anything like that?
Yeah, we've been getting some invites to send instructors to different places. I think talked about Georgia a little bit, but we have her wrapped up to do one later in the year. And Joe Perry is the guy who teaches the post-exploitation hacking class on our site.
Okay.
He's locked up to do another one. So yeah, we'll be making some presences. I don't want to say too much where we're going to be right yet, because we've got to get things locked in. But you'll see us around for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ryan, Anthony, thank you both for joining us. And if you guys have any new initiatives or anything you'd like to mention on breaking down security, come on, and we'll definitely let you guys show your wares to our listenership.
It's much appreciated, Brian, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. That was it for this special interview with Cybrary.it and Ryan and Anthony. So for us at Breaking Down Security World Headquarters, hope you have a great day, and come back soon. Nom nom nom.